Hey everyone, not a news video today, but more of a personal update on the Tesla Fund, which I'm very excited to report today and want to congratulate us and just say thank you for watching and supporting so generously over the past few months. You know, we announced the Tesla Fund way back in October, and a lot has changed, both with Tesla and our own plans, but I'm very excited to tell you, as of today, we have actually reached our goal. The Tesla Fund has hit 100% funded, and I couldn't be happier, you guys. Seriously, this has been my dream car for years. Long before this channel even existed, I dreamed of one day being able to buy a vehicle that was pure electric, that I could charge from home and supercharge and let it drive itself on the freeways and stuff, and I really wasn't expecting to hit it at this age, but I have so many of you guys watching and supporting the channel to thank for that. So in full transparency's sake, we wanted to disclose as soon as the Tesla Fund hit 100%, because we just want the Patreons out there and the people that may be supporting directly via the YouTube membership feature or watching the videos to help us out know that once we've hit this Tesla Fund point, the revenue generated from the channel here on out is just going to go back to just kind of funding general expenses. You know, I'm sure there will be Tesla insurance and registration and maintenance to worry about, but no longer will every dollar you send to Tailosive go straight to the Tesla Fund, at least with the EV stuff. So we wanted to be transparent, so we're actually going to break down what the different sources are between the Tesla Fund, just so that you guys know how this system works, because I've already seen a bit of a misconception online, people convinced that only other people are paying for my car and we're not paying for the car at all, it's just Patreon. That's not really the case, and you'll understand once you see the numbers here. So we basically had 5 different income sources for the Tesla Fund. Patreon was one of them, but there were many others. The largest one, actually, after all of these months, I'm accounting for revenue generated from Patreon and the channel starting in October, from the very first of the month all the way until now. So when we dropped the Tesla Fund video and said that we were actually planning on buying a car this year, I mentioned that we already had $15,000 in funds at the time. That all came from my wife's job, who I'm very grateful was on board with this, because, you know, she isn't working on YouTube full-time like I am, but she was working an online job and doing a lot of overtime and a lot of long hours, and I owe her a tremendous amount of credit for contributing that $15,000 to the fund, because that was quite a large chunk. And the next big chunk, just a little bit smaller than $15,000, actually came from my Tailosive Tech channel. So as you guys can probably tell from the iPhone boxes behind me, I don't just do videos on EVs. I've actually been covering mostly Apple related tech and iPhones and Apple Watches and MacBooks and that kind of thing for years. And that was during the Tesla Fund process, covering all of our bills, covering our monthly expenses, you know, our food, the water, the Wi-Fi, all of that kind of stuff, all was being paid for by the tech channel. And at the same time, to make up the difference that the EV channel and Patreon wasn't able to make up, the Tailosive Tech YouTube channel had to cover that extra expense, which was almost $15,000, but still almost a third of the total price of the car. And that's where our next biggest chunk comes in, the Tailosive EV YouTube channel. So just to prove to you guys that I was not lying when I said every dollar this channel generated, you know, every super chat and all the channel members and all the AdSense generated from my videos was going straight to the Tesla Fund. Here's the analytics page for you. This is the dates from October 1st until June 19th, which is the latest day we have ad revenue stats for. The Tailosive EV YouTube channel generated $14,821 even. So that, of course, was a tremendously big boost to get us closer to affording the Model 3. And then the next biggest chunk comes from our Patreon supporters, who have been supporting directly since October, and I also have the data, the analytics to prove to you this is exactly how much the Patreon has generated. And for the sake of transparency, yes, the number that Patreon charges every single month has been public. I don't hide that information, so you guys are aware that just over $4,100 was donated from the Patreon since October, which we're so incredibly grateful for. You guys are awesome, and we've loved being able to interact with you guys on a closer basis, both with the collaborations with the executive Tesla Fund members and adding the referral codes from our enhanced Tesla Fund members, and of course updating the outros and all the videos and kind of giving shout outs during the streams and stuff to people supporting there. But even after Patreon, that doesn't quite cover the entire cost of the vehicle, which is why the Tailosive podcasts are actually the last step of the puzzle, which generated just a little over $1,600 over the course of the last 8 months. And by the way, that includes just my share of the podcast. There's still equal cuts that get paid out to Randy and Nick and and Mike, but all of my shares of the podcast that were generated from the Talos of Tech show, the Talos of EV show, even the Talos of Tech streams and Talos of Tech shorts in podcast form, all of the revenue those generated went straight to the Tesla Fund as well, at least my share. And that's what brings us to our total amount, because our final payment due once the Model 3 is ready for delivery will be about $50,492. That breaks down all of the different sources from the Tesla Fund. And for the record, the reason we wanted to post this now is it's payday today, which means we finally hit our goal of achieving that number from all the different income sources. So I'm totally fine if you guys don't want to support on Patreon anymore, just because it's no longer really a Tesla Fund. You know, we'll keep the perks going for a few months. I'm not sure if long term I'll keep the Patreon around, but if you want to access the premium channels in our Discord server, it will still remain the cheapest way to do that. If you want to remain a moderator, or if you want to collaborate with me for an hour, the Patreon will still be available for those who want it, but just be aware it's no longer going to the Tesla Fund. It's just kind of going towards my general life expenses, which, you know, living and producing these videos does take time, which does cost money, and I've got bills to pay, especially once we get Tesla insurance, hopefully, and supercharging costs, electric bills, and that kind of thing. But even if all of you cancel, I don't mind, just because I'm insanely grateful that so many of you were willing to pitch in and help accelerate this process. And this is what I mean by, seriously, just watching these videos does make a big impact, guys, because while I'm very grateful for the direct supporters on Patreon and the super chatters, still most of the revenue generated here came from YouTube AdSense, which means just from you guys watching the videos and tuning in every single day, or at least once a week, to watch the news that I report on. That is immensely helpful and allows my dream car to become that much closer. And as long as you guys keep watching, then we'll be able to keep producing videos like this. And in case you're curious, the current estimated delivery date on the Model 3 is still listed at July 29th through September 9th, which still feels like such a long way away, and there's a good chance my estimate might even get pushed back further. But I also, just before this video ends, wanted to address some people, not very many, but a few were disappointed that we ended up compromising with the Model 3 over the Model Y. The truth is, we were willing to make that compromise partially because we didn't want to have an infinite timeline on this. You know, it's already been 8 months since we dropped the update video saying, hey, we're going to start a Tesla fund, and all the money this channel generates is going to go towards buying a Tesla. So if we were to keep waiting and keep saving up this Tesla fund until we could buy the Model Y, this process would take even longer because the Model Y is super backordered. And during that process, we would have to pay a lot of money for gas. So we hope no one feels like they were scammed or anything, because, you know, we tried to be transparent from the beginning that this is a Tesla fund, not a Model Y fund. And we were, you know, hoping that the rear-wheel drive Model Y would come back with lithium iron phosphate, or that the 4680 Model Y would be more affordable. Unfortunately, neither of those things happened, and the Model Y just continued to get more and more expensive, and the wait time continued to get pushed back. So I was going to feel guilty if there were a bunch of people supporting the channel on Patreon for months and months, and all of that money was basically just paying for gas as we wait for a $65,000 or $66,000 Model Y purchase. And we think the main reason of getting the Tesla to cover for the channel is still applicable to the Model 3. The ownership experience of a lithium iron phosphate chemistry, I think, is going to be far more interesting than just a regular old 2170 long range, or even the 4680, which seems to behave the same way as the 2170 cells. And also, yeah, the Model Y is a little bit cooler because it's a hatchback and stuff, but lots of channels have covered the cargo space and stuff. We want this vehicle to cover like road trips, and to cover the charging cost and the watt hours per mile, and of course autopilot and full self-driving. All of the things we were interested in a Tesla for, the Model 3 still offers. The Model Y just would have taken us like a year longer to get and cost us $20,000 more than the Model 3. And we've lived with a mid-size sedan for the past 5 years, and we don't really utilize the cargo space in that vehicle already. So I hope you guys can understand why we compromised with the Model 3, and I apologize to those who are upset or misunderstood that there was a decent chance from the beginning that we tried to disclose, yes, if the Model Y remains unreasonable in price, then we may compromise and get a Model 3. But either way, for those who are supportive and very congratulatory, we're very, very grateful, and we can't wait to cover our ownership experience. If there's any updates updates in the estimated delivery, I'll be sure to tweet it out on my Twitter account down below. And I can't thank you guys enough, so that's why I wanted to wrap up the video just by once again thanking our executive and enhanced Tesla Fund members, Joshua Vinnick, Dennis P., Dr. Mark Choi, who is a dentist in the Woodland area, Bennett Williams, Joshua Levitsky, and Robert Brindle for your incredible extra support. Thank you guys so much. And of course, everyone else supporting on Patreon as well. You really made this possible, and I feel confident in saying I've never been more excited in my life for any purchase. And I also have to give one last final thank you and shout out to my wife. This is not the type of purchase she makes very much. You know, both of us before this bought cars that were under $4,000, and to suddenly go to a $50,000 purchase was a big mental exercise for both of us, but she got on board with it and she's very excited for it as well. And the fact that she was willing to pitch in so much to the Tesla Fund and work so hard last year, I'm very grateful for my incredible wife. And I hope to get her in more EV videos in the future, and she's never driven a Tesla yet, so I hope that this Model 3 will be the first one she ever drives and she can talk about her opinions and experience, which I think you guys would appreciate someone else other than me talking about it on the channel as well. Thank you all for watching. Have an excellent rest of your day. Take care.